How much worse is this crisis going to be? The reason that the economy was so sick, it's not the coronavirus. It's because of everything the government did before the coronavirus. We're about to see a sovereign debt crisis. We're about to see hyperinflation, where the value of the dollar is completely destroyed. We're cutting taxes, but everybody's getting a bailout, everybody's getting a check, and nobody is asking who's paying for it. Government has to be paid for. Those tax cuts were a fraud because tax cuts have to do with cutting government spending. The cost of government is what it spends. So government spending is taxation. Every dollar the government spends is a dollar that we have to fund. They are increasing taxation. Are they going to tax us today? Are they going to borrow the money, which means they're going to tax us even more tomorrow because now we have to pay the taxes to cover the interest? Or is the Federal Reserve going to monetize the debt? Are they going to print more money, which means we pay for government through debasement of the currency? This thing is going to implode, and it's going to implode soon. The party is going to end. The dollar is going to crash, and a tsunami of inflation that we've been exporting for years and years is going to come hitting us, our shores, and we're going to see the cost of living go through the roof. The reason that nobody can do without income for a few weeks or a few months is because everybody has debt to service. Corporations are levered to the max. They've been borrowing all this cheap money from the Fed. They've been using it to buy up their overpriced stock, so they didn't have any savings. Individual households are leveraged to the max on cheap consumer credit. They got mortgage debt, student loans, auto loans, credit card debt. They're living paycheck to paycheck. You take that paycheck away, they can't pay their rent, they can't pay their mortgage, they can't pay their debts. Everybody is broke, nobody has savings. And then this crisis comes, and a lot of people want to talk about, well, this is like World War II. It's the opposite of World War II, because when World War II hit, nobody got bailed out, nobody got a stimulus check, everybody got a bill. We're pretending that the government can support the people by using a printing press. That all we have to do is print money and nobody has to work, nobody has to produce, we can have all this stuff for free. Well, we're about to find out the hard way that the most expensive way to pay for government is through inflation, through printing money. That's what we're doing, and we're about to relive the lessons of history because a lot of countries have tried this before and it has ended in disaster every time it's been tried.
If the average person's watching this to say, what are the most important numbers to look at that can predict what's going to be happening in the future?
When somebody is out of shape and overweight, the solution is not to eat more, it's to go on a diet, it's to exercise. But if you go to a person who is out of shape and doesn't eat well, and you say, look, this is what you need to do, they don't want to do that because it's going to temporarily cause some discomfort in their daily routine. That's the problem. You got to look at the price of gold, which is already going up. But at some point, it's going to go up much faster. You got to look at the exchange rate of the US dollar versus other currencies. Now, right now, the dollar is stable, but it's not going to stay stable for long. At some point, the dollar is going to fall. And then you got to look at long-term interest rate. Wait for long-term interest rates to really start spiking higher. That is ultimately going to happen. Now, if you wait for those three things to happen, a big move up in gold, a plunge in the dollar, and a sharp increase in long-term interest rates, it's too late to do anything about it financially. I mean, you've missed the boat. What you've got to do now, and what I've done personally, what I'm helping my clients do, is get out of U.S. financial assets, get out of the dollar, get out of U.S. bonds before that crisis. The government can fund its operations honestly through taxation, where it actually takes money away from some people and gives it to other people, or it can do it dishonestly the way it's doing now through inflation. Have the Federal Reserve create money out of thin air and just give it to people, just spend it into circulation. But when the Fed does that, you're not getting that government for free. That means that people that already have dollars in savings, in annuities, in pensions, under their mattress, wherever you have dollars, those dollars lose their purchasing power. And that purchasing power is transferred to the people who are receiving the government money. So instead of the government taking your money, the government is taking the purchasing power from your money. You're going to be stuck with this bill. If you have savings, if you've got a portfolio of bonds, or you've got an annuity or cash value in an insurance policy, or you're working for wages, The value of what you earn is about to collapse, in that the cost of living is about to explode, and that's how we're paying for this. They just print money. They just continue the QE, they bail out everybody, and they destroy the dollar. A hyperinflation is much worse economically than just a massive economic collapse. The pain that that will inflict is going to be far greater, but because it may happen 6 months or a year later or 2 years later, who knows, that may be the course that we end up taking.